One of our most popular treatments is CoolSculpting, and CoolSculpting has been around for a few years now, and it uses the principle of something called cryolipolysis. And cryo means to freeze, and lipolysis means to destroy fat cells. And this was first described many years ago when it was noticed that young ladies who were going out riding their horses on a frosty morning were actually losing the fat on the inside of their thighs from contact with a cold saddle. But also children in the States were sucking on the popsicles, and by doing that too often they were actually losing the fat within their cheeks, and these children were developing this sculpted appearance. So of course the scientists then got involved and decided that there would be some medical applications. So we can use the same principle of cryolipolysis to treat unwanted deposits of fat. For example, that those may be sticking out above your belt or the outer thighs and so on. And if you're interested in the treatment, you would first of all go through a full assessment with one of our trained CoolSculpting specialists. They would assess the individual's needs, they would map out the areas that needed treating, and then on the day of treatment you would come to the clinic, you would have a cool gel pad placed upon the skin and then the device placed on top of that, and cooling would be applied. And the skin survives the cooling very, very nicely, but the fat cells are much more susceptible to damage by cold. So the fat literally freezes through the skin, and the freezing expands the fat cells in the same way that you might, for example, freeze a piece of fruit. You take that strawberry out of the freezer, it looks perfect. But then as it begins to thaw, it starts to collapse. And the same thing is happening to those fat cells. Those fat cells are rupturing, and the contents over a period of time are removed from the system, and the area that's been targeted with the cryolipolysis becomes thinner. So cryolipolysis is very much the future, but the important thing to understand is that the CoolSculpting device is the only one that's FDA approved, and in America that's vitally important. You can't market a procedure or a machine or a drug without full FDA approval. There are plenty of Me Too machines out there being used out there by some therapists and clinics, but unfortunately the degree of cooling is not monitored so closely, and there is a risk of cold burns and damage to other tissues. So if you're going to have cryolipolysis, CoolSculpting is what you should always be looking for.